trucking on, and I'm trucking on. Move her on down the line, another town will do me fine. I'm trucking on, I'm trucking on.
Corbin Blount, welcome to Truckin On.
Thank you, man. This has been a long time coming here the last couple of months.
Dude, I apologize. It's ridiculous. We had lunch and decided to do this like 4 months ago.
I was thinking like October. Yeah.
And then shortly after that, I decided to take a hiatus. So
Old holiday break.
And then this year's just been crazy, busy with stuff. So I think that we've had like 3 reschedules.
We had some weather reschedule. With the kids out of school and everything. And
yesterday was my favorite reschedule.
The real estate gods.
I texted you Monday night and like, we're doing this tomorrow. Can you believe it? Or like Monday during the day, like this is happening. And then I just had a deal, man. The market is back.
Sure seems that way.
And we had a deal working where there was multiple tenants competing over a building, and the landlord just told us Monday, like, you guys have to sign the lease by noon tomorrow or you're going to lose the building, because we've got 2 other groups lined up that are willing to do that. You're first in line. And anyway, like, so we didn't even have a lease, an executable copy of the lease into business Monday, not until Tuesday at 11 a.m. So I knew like, this is like, there's still people that need to talk about insurance or whatever and like get this lease into final form, and we have to review it and it has to be signed by noon. European client, like all kinds
time difference, the whole deal.
We had the attorneys in Europe, so there's all kinds of stuff, and we had like a 10 a.m. podcast. Like there's no way.
It wasn't going to happen.
I would not be able to relax, but we got the deal done.
Good. That's what matters.
The real estate gods intervened. I listened. You have to listen to the real estate gods.
You do, or you'll lose it.
They'll smack you.
That's right. But we're here today. That's what matters.
That's right, man.
Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. It should be called Truckin On with Lee and Associates.
In the last couple of months, had a couple of us on here.
I've had a lot. Of you guys, and I will continue to welcome any Lee and Associates broker and maybe repeat episodes, you know?
Absolutely. We appreciate the opportunity and just love chatting with you.
Well, great to have you here. I know you've heard the podcast before, so I like to just start back and hear about your upbringing. And I like to start at age 12, but whatever, you know, like core memories of your adolescence that you feel like really had an impact on the man that you became.
Sure. So a little bit of background, been in Dallas my whole life, grew up in North Dallas, started in kindergarten at Trinity Christian up in Addison.
What do you mean by North Dallas?
Frankfurt and the Tollway.
Okay.
Far North Dallas.
Got it. I got you.
Yep. And went to TCA, kindergarten, all the way through 12th grade where I graduated.
That's cool.
So I was a lifer. We had 119 kids graduate in my class. I bet you I knew 95 of them from kindergarten all the way through.
That's
so
cool.
It was cool in some regards. And others, you know, you kind of start to get sick of those people.
It's a weird little bubble, right?
100%.
Like, yeah.
And I tried every excuse in the book to transfer to public school or transfer to a different private school. And my parents, in hindsight, you know, held their ground, and TCA provided me a lot of structure that I needed to, you know, make sure that I was on the straight and narrow and doing the things I should be doing and not doing the things I shouldn't be doing.
How do they provide you with structure?
So it's obviously a Christian-based education, but for lack of a better term, they kind of instill the fear of God in you. It's very straight-laced school, you know, especially as you get up into high school.
Do they use God as a disciplinarian? Like
they do, in some regards, and not to say that that's all bad.
Right.
It certainly put the fear in me to a level that I was able to stay on the right path amongst all the crazy things, you know, going on in the world with my friends that didn't go TCA or have that kind of Christian structure to their education.
But you felt, I mean, there was not like that group of kids at TCA. I have friends who went to Dallas Christian. So they played you guys, right? In football. So you're big rivals.
Yes.
And they were kind of like wild.
So not to say that we didn't have those, right? And not to say that I completely walked the straight and narrow, but it kept me from getting out of bounds and doing things I really shouldn't be doing that were dangerous or what have you.
Yeah.
So I'm thankful for that. But yeah, by the time I graduated, I was ready for a new group of folks around me. And so I guess, 12 years old, right? That probably puts me in the 7th grade. I was pretty involved in scouting. I'm an Eagle Scout. I got my Eagle Scout in May of 2007. I remember that because it was a condition of getting a car. And so I was a Boy Scout, did my Eagle Project, actually at a 12-step program sponsored by Lovers Lane United Methodist Church. Went out and built out a patio with benches and seating and cleared up a bunch of brush and just made it kind of it's not quite like your backyard, but, kind of a serene environment for 12-step ministry programs to go out there and have AA meetings and Al-Anon and things like that. So
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Did you go to those meetings while you were like, how in tune were you about what was going on in those meetings?
I was very out of the loop on what was going on. And the reason I picked that, I was a member at Lovers Lane United Methodist Church, trying to think of something for my Eagle Project, and that just kind of stood out to me. We'll circle back to that Al-Anon topic, but I had no idea at 13, 14, 15 years old what these programs were. 27-year-old Corbin, 26-year-old Corbin came to find out what Al-Anon was, and it was a great experience. And honestly offered me a lot of good advice and ways to think through some of the things going on in my life. And so when I started going, I had the epiphany that, wow, I didn't know what was going on at a young age when I did my Eagle Project there. But in hindsight, I'm glad I did it for a 12-step ministry, Al-Anon type program.
That for sure feels like a God thing when you're like doing that and creating this serene environment for these people. You don't even know what they're doing. And then 10 years later, you find yourself like sitting there in those chairs. Did you go to the same place?
No, didn't end up going there. I went over to the Preston group.
That's a great place. And I mean, not very serene environment though. Like most AA places and Al-Anon places are dumpy. I mean, it's like not a not-for-profit organization and all that. So that's something to think about for future Eagle Scouts out there. FYI, we need to clean up these rooms and make them a little nicer, in my opinion. That's cool. Did you play sports?
I did. So kind of in that middle school era, I was trying to still play them all, right? Football, lacrosse, baseball. I was not a great baseball player. I just didn't want to get hit by the ball, but I played catcher. So it was
How
kind of
blind
an odd
are you
deal
with those glasses?
So I see the majority of my world through my left eye. I was born with a lazy eye. You can't probably tell. And a doctor can only tell after they look at my file. But if I close my left eye, I can see you. I know that says Pulp Fiction over there, but it would be tough for me to tell you in a doctor's office what those letters were.
But you're mainly seeing through your left eye.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah. I am severely blind. Like I wear -9 and 11 contacts. So I'm negative.
It's
like
pretty blind.
My left eye is super blind. My right eye is a little better. And yeah, if I did not have in my contacts, I couldn't see your face. I couldn't see the Pulp Fiction lettering over there, which is pretty large.
And I wanted to wear contacts, and basically I'm 20/20 in my left eye. The doctor said, hey, I can prescribe them to you, but if you ever get an infection in your eye and lose your left eye, you'll never drive again. You may never work again. There's a lot of things you won't be able to do. So how about you just go with glasses? And so a valid point, and not that that's super common, but I took it to heart and just said, I'm just going to own the glasses.
Just be extra careful.
Exactly. So own the glasses thing. And
point being, baseball is not for blind people.
Correct.
Like people with poor vision.
Correct.
And I remember specifically going to I wanted to play baseball because all my friends were. And I was, of course, like in whatever the worst position is you can be, for the least skilled player, right field. Is that it? Is that where you go? Right field?
I think
I
so.
don't even know. But the ball just hit me right in my glasses and
Oh.
broke my glasses, black eye. And it's like, I can't see a baseball. Like
Right.
there's just, it's not happening.
And especially as they start throwing it faster, there's no way you can hit the ball.
No, this was like in third grade or something. Like I can't even imagine now. I'm like, as far as my son doesn't have any interest in playing baseball. I'm like, good, because I don't even know how to throw a baseball. Like I'm not the great dad for a baseball player. So anyway, that's interesting. So then on to high school.
Yep. So obviously still at TCA, kind of gravitated to football. I loved playing lacrosse. I played it at the club level at a couple different places. TCA never had lacrosse. And I think I was probably a better lacrosse player than I ever was a football player, but ended up kind of gravitating to football. And back to the Eagle Scout thing. I got my Eagle Scout on a Thursday night. Saturday, my dad woke me up and said, we're going to go get a car. And he was true to his word. We got a nice used car. And
what was your first car?
It was an Infiniti 2-door coupe.
Okay.
And it was sporty and fast. I don't know that I would buy my kids that as their first car necessarily, but it all worked out. And I was proud of it, right? I felt that I had, in a way earned it by going out and getting my Eagle Scout by the time I was, 15 years old. And, they say right before Eagle Scout is Life Scout, and you don't want to be life for life. And so I tried to take that to heart and just push through and get it. But in that phase of life, you have so much going on that is a distraction to getting that done. But 10th grade, ended up playing varsity football, played defensive line my sophomore and junior years. Had kind of a rough season my junior year, performance-wise, and I adamantly did not want to play offensive line. Had some conversations with our coaches, and they said, hey, if you want to start every game, we need you to play left guard. Reluctantly, I decided to do it. We went to the state championship game our senior year, lost by 1 point in overtime, but I made first team All-State as an offensive lineman. And I think that was an interesting time in my life, and it's something I look back on a lot. It's, there's a lot of things in life I don't want to do, but if you do them, you might come out the other end and realize, hey, I was pretty good at that. Or, hey, I really enjoyed that and learned a lot from that. That was one of those big moments in my young years that taught me, hey, you don't always have to want to do these things. Sometimes you just need to do it for the betterment of the team or the people around you. And it ended up working out in that case.
I have a song I wrote. It's called Pay for the Bills. Listeners, you can go find it on Spotify under my name. And I play a song swap sometimes with my musician friends. And so I just did this last week with a couple of them. And the song's like Pay for the Bills. I wrote it when I was home on a snow day one time with the kids. It was just me and the kids. And of course, like work's not stopping. So I'm on the phone and my kids are like, Daddy, Daddy, Daddy. I'm like, I got to pay for the bills, man. And I wrote that song.
Mm-hmm.
So I was playing it, and it's kind of like, I like to spend money on things is what the song's about. And so the song is, I work because I got to pay for the bills, man. Pay for the bills. It's real simple. And my two friends are lifelong musicians on stage with me. So that's their career in the creative space. And so they're just kind of like, yeah, like we were talking about this mindset. And I used to be a professional musician, which does not do a good job of paying the bills, but it has its own it's like its own freedom that you experience by doing what you love. Like you're doing this fun hobby for a living, even though it's not a great living. But I shifted when I was like 27 and started doing what we do, industrial real estate, because I wanted stability, like financial stability in my life. I had lived with no electricity, living paycheck to paycheck. We would be on tour in Europe and I could not afford to buy a pack of cigarettes. And like, that it was crazy. Like, this is nuts. Like, we're on the road for like a full day driving across Europe, and nobody will give me money to buy a pack of cigarettes. And I know we're getting paid the next night, but it was so frustrating, and I couldn't pay the electricity bill. So, and we're flying coach, middle seat coach, my big ass to Australia, and sleeping on couches, could never afford hotels. I mean, if we got a hotel, it was the Motel 6, and it felt like the Taj Mahal
Oh, absolutely.
to get to go there. So when I decided to quit that lifestyle and start this new lifestyle, did commercial real estate brokerage like sound like a fun thing to do to me? Not at all. To put on a suit, go work for Jeff Mercer, be at the office at 7 o'clock in the morning. It was kind of exciting, like that this is a new stage of life.
But
But
completely opposite of what you were living.
when I quit my job to go on tour with my band, that's like full fuck yes. We're going on the road. Like, this is awesome. I was so excited. I mean, it was a different level of excitement. It wasn't like I was in misery, but it's kind of like I'm gonna go do something that it's not necessarily my ideal thing to do, but because I recognize the value that it's going to create.
Absolutely.
And it is this mindset. And then when you kind of do those tough things, the rewards come. And then now I can go record music whenever I want to record music and play shows, and I don't have to worry about that paying my bills for me either. So anyway,
Absolutely.
just it's something I was just thinking about, is that like dynamic of, and I think you see this a lot on the internet now, like these self-help gurus that talk about like, go find a job that people need this thing. Like, go be an electrician or a plumber. Like, does that sound like a fun job? No. But do people always need electricians and plumbers?
And
Always.
there's
Like,
not enough of them.
there's not enough. You can make an incredible living doing that. Does that sound like a fun job? Of course not. Like, but can it be extremely lucrative? And can you own a plumbing company if you become a master plumber and you don't ever have to climb under a house and look at a pipe? You just go hire other master plumbers to go do that. And then you can sit back and cash checks and do whatever you want to do. You can go fishing all day. But you've got to make this like sacrifice and just acknowledge, you got to create value, true value. And if you're creating value for people and providing a need that the football team needs a left guard and needs you there, not on the defensive line.
That's right.
Defensive line's a little sexier.
Sure
I was
is.
the left guard.
And it was easy to play defense. Guy with ball, go get him. Offensive line, you got to really think through things. And our coach always used to say, hey, don't let anyone fool you. You guys are the sharpest guys on the field from a game plan standpoint, because it all starts here. And without a good offensive line, everyone knows what happens, right? You can't run the ball. You can't pass the ball. So, it was easier for me to try and stomach it when I was being told, hey, if you can master this, you're one of the sharper guys out here. You just have to put in the time and the effort and study it and just commit to it. Didn't want to do that at first, but once I got my feet wet with it and realized, hey, I'm not half bad at this, it was a lot easier for me to, fully commit and jump in with 2 feet and try and make the best of it.
O-line is like a great exercise of humility too, because your name's not getting called. Like, you're not the star player on you like actually are, but nobody recognizes you as that. The
100%.
cheerleaders are not like, oh, that offensive lineman's so smart.
Exactly. Exactly.
And but yeah, but it's so important to have a good offensive line. We all know that.
Absolutely. Back to the Boy Scouting thing for a brief second. So Girl Scouts sell Girl Scout cookies. Everyone knows about Girl Scout cookies. They love them, right? Boy Scouts, specifically when I was in Boy Scouts, sold popcorn. And when I was 13, you get your 1-page pamphlet and it comes along and says, if you sell 10 boxes, you get this cool pocket knife. If you sell 25 boxes, you get an RC car, what have you. And I remember coming home and sitting down with my dad and being like, hey, I want to win the whatever it is. And it was like 100, 150 boxes, not boxes, but units, right? My dad said, well, if you really want to do that, I'll help you. I'll teach you how you go sell something. And, it's typically friends, family, pick up the phone. Hey, I'm selling Boy Scout popcorn. But what was unique at TCA, we got out of school on Friday, every Friday for my entire childhood at 1 p.m. And so I had some time on those Friday afternoons. And during popcorn season, if you will, my dad would pick me up. He'd have my uniform in the car. I'd change clothes, and we would go around town meeting with people that he knew. And I'd go and give them the pitch. It was never, hey, I'm just here selling popcorn. Do you want to buy it? It's, hey, let me walk you through this sheet of what our options are. And I kind of formulated a little sales pitch, and I got it down really well. And I remember distinctly one day getting picked up, and my dad said, hey, we're going to run down to Republic Title. They're at the Quadrangle in Uptown. We're going to run down to Republic Title on Friday afternoon and see if we can sell some popcorn. Great. I get there. They walk us into the conference room and said, if you have some copies of your little pamphlet, just lay them out at every seat. Probably 40 seats in that conference room. So I lay them out, and slowly, one by one, people start coming in. I look up, and this room has 50 or 60 people in it, and I'm at the head of the table. And they said, Corbin, the floor is yours.
How old were you?
14, probably. And so I sat there and gave them my spiel. I said, hey, this is who I am. This is what I'm selling. Here's what we have to offer. And, they had some follow-up questions. Hey, what's your favorite? Or, hey, if you sell X amount of boxes, you get a good prize. And, so.
And you have like flavored popcorn going on here?
So, it was everything from kettle corn, butter popcorn, chocolate, cheese popcorn. I mean, you name it, we sold it. And some of them.
Aged cheddar popcorn.
That's right. And, they all came in like
Wisconsin aged cheddar popcorn right here.
That's right. And they all came in like, the big ones came in these big metal tins. And, it was kind of a big fancy to do. And I mean, I remember leaving that conference room with like $7,000 in checks. And, some of these people were like, hey, we have all these closings we've done this year. We'll just buy one of each and we'll just hand them out, as closing gifts. I remember telling my dad, hey, that was way easier to go pitch a room full of people than going office to office and selling one or two at a time. He said, well, of course it is. The bigger the audience, the more you can sell. And that was my first taste of sales.
Yeah.
What's funny is I sold it all through my Boy Scout career, but age 13, 14, 15, I was the #1 popcorn salesman in the country for the Boy Scouts of America. So over 3 years, I sold roughly $76,000 worth of popcorn. And so, some years I do, first year I think I did 15 or 16. The next year I did, 21, 22. And I think at the height of it, I was doing like $25,000 or $27,000. And what's crazy is popcorn season is like a 90 or 120 day window a year.
It's like Thanksgiving, Christmas.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, and I guess one year
did you figure this out? Like, you're like, this is when we sell. I mean, I guess the Boy Scouts figured it out for you. So it's like, this is popcorn season. So go sell.
Exactly. And
it
my first year that I was really trying to get after it, I got in second place in the country. And I told my dad, I said, my goal for next year is to be #1. I said, okay. So we continued the Friday afternoon deal, and we'd go meet with anyone and everyone that would answer the phone that he knew, but I would call him.
What an awesome dad.
It was really, really cool. Especially
what a great memory it is for you forever.
And it gets even funnier. So, when popcorn comes in, it's from some distributor, and all these troops go around and either use pickup trucks or, U-Hauls or whatever and pick up boxes or pallets of popcorn. So our troop would use a rider truck with a lift gate, and they'd clear out about half of it and distribute it to the rest of the folks in the troop, and then say, hey, here are the keys. Just toss them to my dad. And there would be multiple pallets of popcorn in the back of that truck. And we would drive it to our house. My parents lost their garage spaces every year at the same time. We had 2 full garages full of popcorn. And so not only is my dad helping me sell it, he's helping me offload it off of this truck. We're organizing it by type, flavor, what have you. And then every morning through the holiday season, he'd come out, we'd pull out my list, and he'd say, hey, I need to meet with so-and-so today. They bought this, load it in the car. So I'd go load it in the trunk of his car. The next day he'd say, hey, I have to run to Republic Title. let's load the entire car up, and I'll take a second trip. So he helped me on the delivery piece, but it was a great lesson in, hey, this is how you do it, but this is also the service level you have to have. You got to deliver it, right? You can't just sell it and kind of forget about them. And in hindsight, that was my first taste of sales. And I knew at that point I wanted to do something where I was selling or being in front of people. I learned I really loved people. And so I think of that fondly, and I think of it pretty often. Just like, hey, cold calling on the streets for real estate is not much different than selling popcorn. It's at a higher dollar value. And frankly, people need real estate. People don't always need popcorn. So yes, it's different, but a lot of the fundamentals of it are the same.
Yeah.
And I was just lucky enough that he was willing to let me use his network to teach me, hey, this is kind of how you do it.
Yeah. Man, I remember I ran for student government my sophomore year, class president. And I had never done anything like that before. But for whatever reason, sophomore year, it's like new, improved me. I'm going to just sign up for class president.
And you went to Woodrow, right?
Yeah. It was so off the wall. My parents are, my dad's like, you were born to do this, son. My mom, I think they were just like shocked because it was pretty out of character for who I had been the rest of my life, which was kind of, class clown, sit in the background kind of a person and not taking anything seriously. And then I'm running for class president. It still baffles me. Like there's some switch just flipped in my brain. And I think it was like probably girls, right? And like popularity. Sure. Like I want to be like a popular person. So this seems like a way. And at Woodrow, it's pretty diverse, but it's like 80% Hispanic and 10% Black, 10% white. So that's kind of like the demographics of the school. I took half honors classes, half non-honors classes. But when I ran for it, I just inherently like realized like I've got to get the Mexican vote, like if I'm going to win this. And so thankfully I was in all these classes with them and played football with a bunch of Mexican guys. So I like remember it was just like instinctual. Like I've got to go sell myself. Like guys, I need your vote. I need you to vote for me, blah, blah, blah. And I won. And my mom I remember her saying like, thank God. Cause I was not a good student, right? Like I was on the path of like our son is going to go to prison or something like, but she's like, thank God you know how to sell. And I remember like figuring that out too. That same light bulb went off. Like I can like put my mind to something and influence people to do a certain thing. And that is powerful. And that immediately carried into like politicking with football coaches to get me on the college recruiting list, or getting on first team. I got first team all district, not all state. That's pretty.
You were playing in a little different sandbox. You were playing in public school football. We were playing TAPS football.
But I recognized at an early age, this is all, I mean, yes, there's talent, which I had mediocre levels of, but then there's politicking, and that is another path to get things you want to get.
Sure.
And relationships with people and talking to them and asking for advice, right? Like, coach, what do I need to do to get to first team all district? And like, let them know, like, I want this, I want this, I want this. And then my band, that came really like that as well. Like selling CDs, making t-shirts, promoting shows, booking shows, like all that stuff. It never made, like, I was not really conscious that this is all sales though. You know,
and half of the battle is just being likable.
I was just like wanting to do things and making these things happen. It wasn't as like, I'm going to sell more popcorn than everybody. It's just like, I want to accomplish this. But looking back, it's super clear. Like all I was doing was sales the whole time, like and working that system, but almost just like unconsciously working it.
Yep.
But it's amazing. And really like Grant Cardone, who I've worked with, it's like sales. Everyone needs to be good at sales in this life, no matter what you do.
Yep.
So, and to become conscious of it. Because if you're not, I was naturally good at it. You were too, right? And a lot of people I can see that they're not, but I believe anyone can be better than anyone at it if you like look at it like here's how you sell something, here's how this works. And I almost never it took me a long time in commercial real estate to understand what I was selling. So I just
Same here.
it
You just
wasn't
don't know
it
what you
wasn't a
don't
box of
know.
popcorn. It wasn't and I didn't know anything either. And I'm selling like me having knowledge, but I didn't have any knowledge. And that's a really strange thing. And I think doing a submarket, that you can learn a submarket pretty quickly. So at least you have some base level knowledge, but you're still, it's hard to make those cold calls and sales early on because you don't really know what you're doing.
I mean, one of the things that always scared me, and I think you and I cut our teeth in similar submarkets. I was in Brookhollow. I think you were too. And, you know, my biggest fear was early on walk in and someone says, "Hey man, what is my space lease for today?" And back in the day, you know, 450 net to 550 net, you know, I hated not knowing. But with repetition and doing transactions and getting reps and tracking vacancy and all that, you start to learn it. And then you can speak to it confidently and it becomes so much more fluid and easier to just sit down and talk with people. And I learned, and it, you know, and I tell the young guys in our offices all the time now, but like, yes, these guys might be in 150,000 feet, but the guy that owns the company put on his pants the same way you did when they woke up. That guy's a human being. And, you know, if you go call on him and he tells you to fuck off, well, you don't know what's going on in that guy's personal life either. He's a human. You might catch him in 6 weeks and he's, you know, in a better mood or doesn't have all this riffraff going on in his personal life. And he's a lot more enjoyable person to talk to.
And he woke up like, man, I got to fix this real estate problem today.
You never know.
That's how those things go. So
Absolutely.
many times. Oh yeah. Yeah. There was that time in Brookhollow when I was working that. And then there's like Jason Moser and Jeff. I'm working with Jeff Mercer, but then that didn't last too long, but I was still in Brookhollow and like, they had that swagger and they'd done so many transactions. Like, how do I even compete with these guys who have done 1,000 deals and own all these buildings and all this stuff? Like, how can I even compete? And so that was hard those first years to like get my confidence to a good place. And then I picked up this national account doing multi-market work miraculously. I loved doing the work though. And I just had this one client for forever, for like 4 years. And I didn't cold call anybody. And the only way I knew how to cold call was Submarket. But now I'm working a multi-market tenant rep account for 4 years. And that's all I did. And then at that point in time, like I had to get a new business plan together because that company got sold and I had no clients.
As they often do.
And I had to go sell, but I couldn't sell myself as a submarket expert because I was no longer that. I was doing deals everywhere. But I could not, like, it took me, I wasn't like in a place where, I can just, I was really stuck. Like, how do I make cold calls now? I don't understand what to do because I know the script from Robert Lynn still, but that doesn't make sense. And I was like Googling cold calling on YouTube and reading books on it. And then I'm like, this was 2013, 14. So 7 years after I'd been in the business. And I'm having to go back to the drawing board. Like, how do I explain to people what this is that I've mastered?
And the value that I bring.
And the value I bring. And that exercise just changed my world. And I was like almost halfway through my current career. And I had to go like reinvent myself. And I didn't know how to do it without going and reading these books. And then like, light bulb went off. Here's what I do. Here's how I explain it real concisely. And here's who I call on I'm going to be able to help. And then it was super easy because I had done all the work and the confidence was there right when I figured out the formula to go explain to people the value I create. God, it took me a long ass time to figure that out in commercial real estate. Like class president, football, band, all so easy, but real estate, it was just really difficult for me to understand. Like, I think that's why I did not like it at first, because I was not like super drawn to doing it. It was more out of like this hope for money, but understanding that in whatever you do is so critical, and that just can shift your confidence. And without the confidence and like understanding what you're selling and why people need it, like
makes it tough.
that makes it impossible
Yes.
to be successful.
And it's funny, I have a handful of national accounts that I picked up as well, and I've had that epiphany too. It's, hey, I can't just throw a comp out from down the street that just got done in Valwood.
Yeah.
These guys might have a Valwood location, but at the end of the day, they have 18 other ones across the country. So, and I was lucky. I was able to kind of organically get those by picking up their DFW deal, having a good experience, servicing the business well. And right about the time we get the lease signed, it's like, hey, by the way, I know you guys have 5 more, 18 more, whatever it is, locations. I think this was a good test run. I think we work well together. Let me tell you how I can help make this process easier for you across the country. But to your point, until you have the confidence and know how to sell yourself in that way, it's a completely different pitch than I'm a local submarket expert. You know?
So. And I think in this day and age, it's so niched out, like the way that to represent an institutional landlord. I think that is, that's its own set of things now. And it's not like it was 20 years ago when I started. Like, you've got to have all of this reporting and research and analytics
and data,
all the data and all of these different things, just like on the tenant rep side. And I know plenty of people, like there's a team in our Seattle office. And when you're in a market like Seattle, especially, you do both, right? And they're doing investment sales, project leasing, and tenant rep. And they have 3 different total pitches for like each of those things. Matt McGregor and Bill Condon, shout out, all years up there. But yeah, I think in a market like Dallas, I don't know, because I don't compete. You do this, right? You do it.
I do have
You have
a
some
decent
agency.
I do have some here locally, but I'll tell you, I'm probably 70% tenant rep.
It's moving more towards that, I think, like than it was 20 years ago for sure. Where industrial, you do whatever. Office was always really tightly wound. Like you have to do
You were
tenant
one or
rep
the other,
or
right?
leasing. And I feel like industrial's shifted that way more, but yeah, we can still go into the other sandbox. I frankly don't want to, out of pure laziness of like reinventing the wheel and like relearning something else, because it is a different skill set to go do that agency work versus being a tenant rep.
100%.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more.
So that, man, I love talking about that kind of stuff on here, and hopefully our listeners here get some value out of that conversation. But so you were first team All-State and then off to college.
So yeah, I'll give you a little brief story. So football ends December of 2009. Handful of buddies on the football team and I, we're used to working out or practicing or doing film or what have you after school every day. And it's like, what are we going to do? So we all went and waited tables together at Pappadeaux at Frankfurt and the Tollway. And I did about a year of it.
Great sales training right there.
Amazing. I learned I could talk to anybody about anything. And you get such a eclectic group of people that sit at your tables. I mean, it was eye-opening in a couple of different ways. I learned there's a lot of great people out there, but I also learned that there's some not so great people out of there, and people that just don't treat servers or other folks with respect. And it was a great intro into what would be my commercial real estate career. Right.
Yeah.
The same people that eat at that restaurant are the same people, same type of people that we're calling on every day. I think everyone should have a quick stint in waiting tables if they can.
100%.
It is incredible.
And I worked at the All Good Cafe. I'm now an owner of, which is crazy.
That's amazing.
And that restaurant was super unique. It still is. It's in Deep Ellum. And it's just smaller, but I can only imagine at a Pappadeaux, like that's like prime time table waiting. Like you
Yes.
guys were just slammed, right? Like,
Absolutely. And I was sweating.
how much
working.
money? I mean, how much money would you make like in a shift there?
So it's funny,
Do you remember?
minimum wage that we got paid by the company is like $2.13 an hour plus tips. I mean, on a Friday night, I could walk out of there with, $250 and I thought I was rich. On a slow night, you make $80, $90 and, that doesn't feel great, but that's a weeknight. You're in high school. That's still plenty of money to buy a pack of cigarettes and some beer if you need it. And working there, you work with all sorts of walks of life that wait tables. And, they're like, hey, you want to come drink beer with us at Applebee's after work? It's like, man, I'm 18. They're Applebee's doesn't card you. You're good. I mean, it was a crash course in dealing with people. It was pretty incredible.
Did you have any romantic relationships while you worked there?
No, but what I also came to learn is that
I loved like dating.
Everybody in these restaurants are dating everybody.
Oh yeah,
it's such an incestual thing that I had no clue about.
It was that was one of my favorite parts actually, and it was it's kind of like its own little world, right? That you're living in. It's like going to a small school or something, but yeah. It's really cool.
And some of those head waiters that would check us out and do our, settle up at the end of the night, they had been there 20 years.
Yeah.
And I quickly learned this is not something that I can make a career out of. You're working nights, it wears on you. You're not making buku money. It's like, all right, well, this was a great experience. And so I did that until I went off to SMU the fall of 2010. And graduated SMU in 4 years flat. Took me a lot of January terms and summer schools to do it in 4 years. But the deal I had with my dad was you get 4 years. After that, you get to pay for it. And I didn't want that. So I grinded to get out in 4 years, got out in 4 years. And, along the way had some interesting internships, one of which was on Capitol Hill in DC. Quick stint, thought I wanted to be a politician. Less than a week into that internship, I couldn't get out of there fast enough. And knowing what I know now as an adult, that would not have worked for my personality.
You have some JD Vance vibes going on.
Is it the beard?
Yeah, I think
Thank
so.
you. I'll take that. I love Washington, D.C. I just hated the politics.
That had to be fun to live there in college. Right?
It was fun.
Yeah.
And, a lot of young folks, but what's crazy is they even coach you, hey, when you go to lunch or you go to dinner or you go to happy hour, you can't discuss work because the table next to you is going to listen to you. And then if you're talking about something sensitive, they're going to use it against you or use it against our office.
Again, kind of like commercial real estate.
A little bit. Yeah, it is.
So I had lunch the other day and he's like, let's go somewhere like not a commercial real estate place.
Not the Flying Fish.
Yeah.
I get that too.
I never, again, out of my pure laziness, I just always go in Lakewood and it's great. It's always, you have pure privacy from our business if you go to the Hudson House in Lakewood.
Absolutely.
So, pro tip.
Or Origin Kitchen where we've gone a couple times.
Closed.
No.
Permanently closed.
That was our spot.
James Ewing told me that yesterday.
Mm.
I know that was really my spot for a while. Like pre-COVID years, I would go there like 4 or 5 times a week.
And I don't think you'll remember this. Maybe you will. But I first got in the business. I kind of went on the calling on every broker in town tour, getting together with them. We met there for breakfast. And halfway through the conversation, you're telling me what you do and what your team does. And I said, man, what motivates you to get up every morning and just grind this out? And you said, well, go get yourself a wife, have a few kids, and get a mortgage. And it will be apparent. And you couldn't have been more right. I mean, that alone motivates you to do anything. But that was the time of my life where I had more free time than I knew what to do with. And life comes at you fast, right? I don't have that free time anymore. But that place will have a special place in my heart for sure.
Adam Graham and I were talking about this exact same thing. Like both of our careers really went to the next level once we got our wives pregnant. Like,
absolutely.
Then it's like, oh gosh. That's when I picked up those cold calling books. That's when that shift happened. Like,
right. I got to go figure it out.
I got to go do some work right now.
Yep.
Um, and why I quit drinking, right? Like I just had to recognize these things like, oh gosh, it was a wake up call. So a lot of younger people that I talk to or work with me, a lot of them are like, I don't think I'm like financially ready to have kids yet. I was like, oh no,
You'll
you have
never be.
kids and you'll be financially ready forever. Like
Correct.
that will be the catalyst for your financial readiness.
And somebody told me, they said, hey, there's never a perfect time to get married. There's never a perfect time to have kids. There's never a perfect time to go buy a home. You just that's called living life.
Yeah.
And you just have to go do it. And life comes at you fast. And I mean, I have 2 girls, a wife, a house. I mean, and it's almost like I blinked and here we are. And so it feels like, I've been in this business 6 months and 25 years all at the same time.
Yeah.
It just depends on how you look at it and what day.
That's right.
But that's a conversation that I think about a lot when you gave me that advice. So I appreciate that. And then, going back, so waited tables, went to SMU, studied economics and sociology, which was not in the Cox Business School. I didn't quite have the grades to get into Cox, but I did the next best thing I could to be, somewhat business school adjacent, if you will. And the degree is called Markets and Cultures. So, you get the markets piece in economics, you get the sociology piece in cultures. And that has played a lot into, we deal with a lot of different cultures in this business and just in life in general. But it was an interesting, degree. I didn't know how well it would serve me, but it turns out it actually served me pretty well. I was in fraternity. I was a rush chair. I loved my experience at SMU, and I always knew deep down I wanted to be in real estate in Dallas. I didn't know which side of the business I wanted to end up on, but since my dad was a land broker growing up, I knew I wanted to be in the business, but that I didn't want to be a land broker. Because as you know, when land's hot, it's on fire, and when it's cold, it's ice cold. And rode that wave, especially during the big downturn, with my family. And I still sell land, but it's with the goal of developing a building, getting the leasing assignment, and being able to lease or sell something actually physically there instead of just sell the vision. So,
yep, I agree. And I mean, tenant rep is, the market does not really impact tenant rep business at all because the leases are going to have to be renewed.
It's a little annuity.
It's happening. It might impact what the rents are they're paying, but if you're dealing with tenants who are great companies that are surviving through recessions and not like teetering on the edge of going out of business, then they're going to stay in business. They're going to have to, in their leasing space, they're going to have to keep leasing space.
Yep.
Even the capital market side, like that's scary. It's boom or bust. And I like that consistency of just being a leasing broker, so that serves me well. And I can only imagine SMU is just the stomping ground for Dallas commercial real estate.
It really is.
It's in the walls.
And I knew I could use
and
that.
And you're having,
network.
I assume, like people coming there and speaking to you as students.
Yep.
John Altshuler probably went up there and talked to you.
Oh, yeah. Yep. He's still up there.
He's a Truckin On alum from the early days.
One of the OGs. It was, a great experience. I knew I wanted to be in the business. I also, going into my senior year, I was lucky enough to get an internship at Hillwood at Alliance. So that's when Tony Cream was over there, Steve Aldrich, Bill Burton, Mike Berry. And funny enough, they were developing the first true Class A office building in North Fort Worth at Alliance Town Center. My job all summer was go call every office tenant between Alliance and basically the airport.
Yeah.
And drop off these flyers and packets and just let them know it's coming. They were basically creating a Class A office market up there.
Mm-hmm.
So I learned a couple things. I learned that cold calling office is not great. You get thrown out of a lot of buildings by security. You got to go up and down elevators, back staircases, all the above. But I also said, hey, do you mind if I sit in on these industrial development meetings you're doing? And I fell in love with the product they develop, right? I didn't know that they developed the sexiest, newest, most modern industrial around. And then it was kind of culture shock. Get to lease, start calling in Brookhollow, and I'm calling on 12 and 14 foot clear buildings in Brookhollow.
Where are the white tilt wall buildings?
That's right. I'm like, golly, this is not the same. But I knew at that point I wanted to be an industrial. My sister has been selling houses here in DFW, primarily like Preston Hollow, Park Cities, Highland Park. She's 12 years older than me. So she had some runway out in front of me. And I said, hey, what do you think? What product type should I really be looking at? She made an interesting point. She said, hey, all my friends in industrial still made money during the downturn. It wasn't the money that they were making, but they were able to tread the water. So through that, she said, hey, I have a friend, Matt Smith. You should really talk to him. Matt Smith at ML Realty. Went to lunch with Matt, and he said, it's funny, my buddy Adam Graham is actually looking to bring someone on over at Lee.
Matt was at Lee, right?
He was, long before I was.
Yeah.
So when I met him, he was at ML as the market officer, and he said, hey, reach out to Adam Graham. He's looking to bring someone on, good East Texas boy, and I think you guys would get along. And, met with Adam, met with Nathan Denton, Mark Graybill, and, the rest was kind of history. Fit in well with those guys. They're entrepreneurial, they're gunslingers. And I was like, this is what I want to be a part of.
Yeah.
So I got lucky. I've been there coming up on 12 years in September. It's the only commercial real estate gig I've ever had. And, I'm lucky because it's not always the
only
case.
job post-college.
Yep.
Yeah. That's cool.
So it, was just another lesson in your network, right? A simple lunch intro to Matt Smith. And here we are 12 years later. So,
did you interview anywhere else?
So I actually had a job lined up coming out of SMU that was not with Lee. And I'll give you the short version of it. They gave me the ICA contract. And there was some stuff in there that I had redlined. I struck the non-compete, a few other things. I presented it to them, and they said, well, if you can't sign it the way it's written, then we might just need to go our separate ways. And I said, hey, I'm not going to sign a non-compete that...
Robert Lynn?
No, it wasn't. I won't say who it was, but long story short, I just said, hey, I really appreciate the opportunity, but I'm not going to back myself into a corner and have you, pursue me on a non-compete if I decide to do something else. I was supposed to start there June the 1st, and I graduated, May 15th or whatever. Obviously, when that happened, I kind of had a little bug out. I was like, will I ever find a job? What's going on? And then September the 1st, I started at Lee.
Yeah.
So it all worked out for the right reasons. And like I said, only gig I've had since school.
That's thoughtful of you at that age to redline a contract.
And I will say, I just started reading through it, and I'm on the phone with my dad. I'm like, hey, if you don't mind reading it, but like there's a non-compete in here, and there's this and there's that. And he just said, whoa. Like, do not do that. Don't sign that. Let me read it. And to his credit, he helped me redline it. But
I know people that signed that contract that got bit by that clause.
Man, I know people that are at shops right now who have wanted to leave for quite a while, who just haven't because they know they're going to get pursued on it.
Yeah.
And we're a right to work state. It typically won't hold up in court in Texas, but you still have to pay to defend yourself.
Yeah.
And, they can chase you and chase you and chase you. It's just, it wasn't something that I was willing to sign up for.
Yep.
But, it's interesting. God will put you where you need to be and will only give you what you can handle. And the stars aligned, and I started in Brookhollow, and Adam had, he's a great landlord leasing guy. So he had a ton of stuff up in Valwood. I always knew I wanted to get into some sort of national business. And I said, hey, would you mind, I'm not having a ton of great success down here. Would you mind if I came up to Valwood, helped you call on tenants? And it really set me up to call on true distributors, right? Mm-hmm. Those buildings are 22, 24, 32 clear. Those are real distributors. And you just don't have a ton of that in Brookhollow, other than maybe in a few pockets or buildings. Yeah. So, I probably came up to Valwood in 2018, maybe 2017, and I've just kind of been a Northwest Dallas guy ever since.
I was going to ask you about your faith. Have you been steadfast through your TCA upbringing to current, or did you ever fall off the track?
I definitely fell off the track. I mean, I'll explain.
And I mean, you might still be off the track. I don't know.
So I'll tell you, I'm a lot more spiritual than I am religious, right? But, you go to SMU, I get there, and growing up, if I didn't go looking for trouble, trouble was never coming to find me. And I explain SMU to a lot of people like this. You don't have to go looking for trouble at SMU, because whenever you get somewhere, it's already there. And so it was culture shock for me that, you couldn't escape it. And I had a college experience similar to a lot of other folks, but during those 4 years, I would say I definitely kind of fell off the wagon of my faith. And,
Rumspringa.
that's right. Total Rumspringer. And,
That's great when it lasts 4 years as like it should, I think it's nice to get to experience that.
right.
Do you know Dan Cook?
I do.
He was my last podcast guest.
Okay.
And it's an awesome podcast. I don't think he ever took a Rumspringa.
Really?
Oh yeah. He's an Eagle Scout. But it's just so, that's a really unique story for me to hear on here, at least, because normally some people go on the Rumspringa. I went on a 20-year Rumspringa, literally. 4 seems so healthy to me because I did 20 years.
Sure.
But Dan's just like, no, never appealed to me like that life. And like,
More power to him.
I know, man. And his faith, like through it all is just, and I mean, he wavered, I think, in his mind, like, which compared to my wavering of faith, it looks like it's 2 different universes, but just hearing his story, it was just actually, I cannot wait for people to hear that podcast, because it's just like so comforting. Like, this is just, I mean, so every guest on here has become like a great friend of mine, I would say, and like all good people, but it's just like, man, he is just such a good guy, hearing that. So I was just thinking about him. But yeah, but after college, you were kind of like, okay, I'm going to get it.
A little bit. So my parents split up when I got out of high school. And so like through
they were just waiting for you to
probably, and not my cross to bear, but that affected me as an 18, 19, 20-year-old kid.
Did you see it coming?
Yes and no. I didn't think it would ever actually happen, but when it did, it kind of caught me flat-footed. But long story short, I was dealing with that in my personal life. I go to SMU, there's trouble around every corner, behind every door. And so, yeah, I kind of fell off the faith wagon. And I won't say I graduated and all of a sudden I'm like, have this epiphany. But I will say, getting into commercial real estate, you really kind of have to find out who you are, what your values are, what you believe in. And I mean, there was times I'd be sitting in truck courts in Brookhollow, just like praying to God, like, if I'm meant to do this, if you really want me to do this, show me something. Chris Hillman says it well. He's like, I'm not the smartest guy in the world, so I'm looking for a great sign from God to point me in the right direction. I feel the same way.
Me too.
And it all ended up working out. Reconnected with my now wife. We met in 7th grade at a track meet at TCA. She went to Parrish. Reconnected with her in 2016. We get married. We date for a couple years and get married. But like in that time, really, kind of came full circle and was just like, this is something I haven't been focusing on and need to. And, you have kids and it just becomes more and more important to have that as a piece of your life. So, it didn't immediately happen after graduating SMU, but it was something that kind of was tugging on my heart. And I don't know, you meet a lot of people in our industry. And there was just, several people I had met that had a strong Christian faith, and I looked up to them and, was like, I want to emulate what they have and what they do. And, I think a large part of that is their faith. And so I realized, a couple years into the business that, hey, this is something that's important and something that I really need to, commit to.
Yeah, I was thinking there is that like Wolf of Wall Street mentality, like go buy a Ferrari and that will make you successful, because you're like, go spend money on like glamour basically, and with that being your driver, that will make you good at making money. And like I think that I'm sure that definitely works, right? But it's not sustainable, and it doesn't lead down a road of like peace and happiness. Like money, it's like the most obvious. Money does not buy happiness. Money can't buy you love. But the whole thing about the family, I think, is so true because money was never a thing to me that was. I mean, I like the idea of stability and being able to pay the bills, man. But I was never like I want to drive a Ferrari type of a person. But the family thing actually mattered. Like, I want to be a good dad and provide a stable environment.
Absolutely.
And that led me back to my faith. My children did, really. Um, I'm so thankful for them. I tell them that all the time. Like, they're my greatest teachers. They like led me back to God.
And I wake up every day, and when I go to bed every night, I thank God for everything He's given me. I don't think any of us are worthy of what we have, and everything we've done is not based on our own merit, right? But every morning just thank God, like, hey, thank you for a wife that believed in me when all I had was a dream, and I can say that for a lot of people's wives and husbands in our business is, a lot of it was just a dream and, a hope to be successful. And she was willing to take the ride with me. And, I would say, I think it worked out, but I just thank God that He's blessed us with two beautiful daughters who are smart and kind and loving. And, I know I wouldn't be sitting in this chair or in, the situation that I am in my life without God. So it took a little while to realize that needed to be a priority. But I mean, yeah, the family thing really, really brings it full circle, I think.
Yeah. What advice would you give to your younger self?
So I think I would probably tell myself there's nothing casual about success, or there's nothing casual about winning. I grew up going to TCA with, families. We were surrounded by very successful families. The Lunsfords went to school with me. Jack Fraker's son was a year older than me at TCA. I'm just a couple real estate examples. And I just thought, oh yeah, these guys, they wanted to be successful, so that's what they signed up to be, and they just were. And what I didn't realize was there's absolutely nothing casual about people's success. That doesn't just happen. You can't just snap your fingers and the money appears in your bank account. Success is never coming to find you. And I wish I had known that, at 18 years old, just knowing what I was up against, in a career or what have you. It is, showing up and working hard. That is what is required. That is not something to brag about. And I think that it took a long time for me to learn showing up and working hard doesn't create results. That doesn't create dollars in your bank account.
Yep, that's right.
Life's hard. Wear a helmet, but I would say that would probably be my biggest piece of advice is just, hey, there's nothing casual about the success that you see around you.
It's so easy from outside looking in to think that way. Like they were just born this way.
Or they have some special gift that I don't have, and that's why they're success. Like everyone is just, like I said earlier, everyone puts their pants on the same way every day.
Yeah.
They're all human beings. They all have, no one that has become successful has ever sat there and not doubted themselves.
And I think the most successful people, they're just the ones that are able to overcome the most amount of fear and failure. Like I was meeting with the guy the other day, and just he started a company when he was in his 20s, and just he was just a born entrepreneur, like, hey, I'm just going to do this. And then next thing you know, he has like 5,000 employees and 6 million square feet of warehouse space. And like, he's never had another job. So he just like started this company in a garage, and then it's become this. And hearing that, and he's got a wife too. And it's not like, look, I've got Nathan and Mark and Adam, and this is the path I'm on. It's just like, I'm going to go just do this thing that I made up and go do it. And when I hear stories like that, like that's just, and obviously like extremely successful, like $500 million kind of net worth kind of a guy that just, but I was thinking to myself like that, because that seems even like where I am today, like how does someone do that? And I was meeting with him really made the light bulb go off, like just not doubting yourself and going for it. And that's like, and having like listening to this creative intuition and then taking a giant leap. And we're all in a place, like everyone we know, we have a skill set and we know that there's this other thing that we could do within our world of industrial real estate and go make that kind of money. But it also requires giving up a really nice life. And like, is it worth it to do that? Like, it's possible for sure, but is it worth it? Like, do I want to go take that risk at this stage of life? Like,
right. Probably not.
No. Like, I mean, I don't know actually. Like, you don't know. I don't know, but I recognize like he's not any different than I am. We're the same, except he doesn't care about like that comfort is not. And maybe it could be a result of him being 25 and never having built this level of comfort up in the first place.
Sure.
But and I think that gets people all the time when you look at you're working 9 to 5 in a cubicle and making a salary and you have a 401k and like a very low ceiling, but it's consistent.
And predictable.
Then you get there and like once people start working in the corporate world, they don't want to leave. They wouldn't want to leave and go do what we do. And because of the exact same reason. It's just that comfort zone. But it's just this totally like your mind makes up this reality structure and limits you to it in a way.
So funny you say that, and it'll come up in the rapid fire. I'll just bring it up. Yeah, I'm not a huge reader, but I know you're going to ask me about a book that I suggest.
What book do you suggest?
Don't Believe Everything You Think by Joseph Wynn.
Okay,
and
I've never heard of that.
The premises is that the root cause of all of our suffering is our thinking, not our circumstances. And the way to live a more stress-free life is to not believe every story that our brain makes up around our circumstances.
Yeah.
And I mean, mindset is a lot. My wife tells me all the time, if positive thinking, put positive things out into the world. And when you get in a negative tailspin, if you think that way, then that's likely how it's going to end up. But it's a short book. It's about 100 pages. And it is eye-opening that, your circumstances are what you make of it. The greatest example of it is two people can have the exact same job. And the only difference in how they perceive their job, one person, it's their dream job. The other person, it's the worst thing that they could ever imagine. The only thing different in that job is the way that those two people look at it and think about it. And so I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah. And I know I've talked about it before on here, and I don't know the exact like stat on this or anything, but I've heard like there are these like tribes in Africa that are struggling to have food and water and living with no electricity, but they like experience a much greater level of peace and joy and happiness and serenity than your average American who's making $100,000 a year.
I believe it.
Because of their mindset, because you're almost forced into this mind. I mean, it's just their reality, but it's also a way simpler reality. So you have less room for your brain to be looking at Instagram all day and like watching TV shows and eating shitty food and like all of these things that can happen over here. And so they just don't deal with like this mental health problem that we have over here, that's totally proof of that, right? Like it's just the way that we're thinking about things.
100%.
That's why I meditate all the time. I tell it to people like the meditation for me is just like this exercise of catching my brain thinking about things or catching behavioral patterns that are destructive and not serving me, like, and giving myself time to think about it, catch it, and then like that other version of me that can look down upon like this mind that's just making up these stories and say, dude, this is wrong. And I love the book, The Secret. And I was telling my son this last night because he was complaining about something. And I'm always like, if you complain about the things, the universe will give you more things to complain about. If you're grateful for things, the universe will give you more things to be grateful about. Like, I've found these to be like spiritual truths of life. So when I start complaining or worrying or whatever, I have my list. I was telling it to him last night. And it's just like, I remember high school and winning that class presidency and being in the show choir, my first band practice, like when I met my ex-wife, like when my children were born, when I went to rehab and stopped drinking, like these things that boom, I've got my gratitude list, and then it just like jolts me out of that. And that practice of gratitude, I think, is the answer to breaking through all of that.
100%. Yeah. When I'm having an off day or just kind of in that negative headspace, I always just remind myself, hey, number one, my God's bigger than this real estate deal. And if this real estate deal doesn't make, I still have 2 beautiful kids and a wife and a house at home. And that's a lot more than some people can say.
I was telling myself yesterday, it's one of these deals. It was a 3PL deal. So if we were not to sign it, there could have been potentially another 3PL that signed it that would have taken the business. Like this competition was going down to the finish line. So it's not like we don't get this building, we go find another building. It's like, we don't get this building, this whole deal goes away. And the client, there's so many things that go wrong with that. But I also have to tell myself, like, if that does happen, like that is something that can happen, that it's beyond my control, then how do I find gratitude in that? Well, gratitude, like all the lessons learned, how we got here and how we lost, and like, will I get fired because we didn't get this building? That's also a possibility, but I'm already thinking like, to be grateful for all the lessons learned on this deal and why it fell apart. And that's going to make me a better broker. Maybe it will strengthen the relationship and help us to win with this client relationship in the future. If they fire me, I'm going to take the lessons and go get a new client with these things. So like, I'm good either way.
It's all perspective.
But having that comes with age, know, and like that,
of course,
because we got to play that game all the time, obviously, in our profession. And that's a great thing about our job. It teaches you this way of dealing with failure, and you can sit around and be an asshole about it, or you can just be grateful for the experience and look for the lesson learned. And I'm always like, okay, this didn't happen for a reason. So it's to teach me something, and I've got to take that and go elevate myself.
And frankly, I think you learn a lot more from those failures than you do from the successes, right? I mean, nobody is successful 100% of the time.
That's right. And I did have a conversation with God. I was like, man, we've had enough of these go the other way.
Right.
Like, come on.
Yeah. Come on.
I actually already learned this lesson if it goes wrong. But yeah, man. So what else? Mystical experience. Have you had one?
No. And I even like,
I just knew you were going to say that, actually.
I went and like even Googled it and really like tried to figure out like, have I had one? I don't think I have.
I think like obviously like our talk about faith, like that's just, it's all mystical.
I think you're right.
So, and I think I'm shifting the podcast to ask more like about that faith story, and like, have you had a spiritual awakening, or like, did you fall off the track? Did you have a rumspringa? And back to Dan Cook, because I don't think I clarified this, but it was just like heartwarming to hear such a story of somebody that's just kind of like been on this path,
just like
of
steadfast
like purpose and duty to his family. He got married when he was in college, but he started dating her in high school, I think right at the end of high school. But he would come home from A&M every weekend to Dallas, hitch a ride. He didn't have a car to spend time with her, and that's like awesome. That was his college life. And I'm listening to him like, that sounds so crazy to 18-year-old me, to 47-year-old me. It still sounds like, I don't know many people that did that. And he's from a different generation, but it's so much respect and admiration. And it was just heartwarming hearing the story. And it's a story that I don't hear that often. And so I'm excited about that. What else? I don't even go by the script anymore. So, morning ritual.
So when the kids sleep well, I like to get up super early. If I can be up at 4:15, I love that. It doesn't happen every morning.
That happened when the kids came into your life, I would imagine.
Yes.
Yeah.
For sure. You got to buy back hours in your day.
That's right.
If it's not, getting back on your computer after the kids are down, you got to find the hours somewhere. And frankly, everyone's asleep. So like I can really get my non-revenue generating activities out of the way for work. I can, get in the cold plunge. I can stretch. I can do whatever I need to do. But by the time the girls wake up at 6:30, 7 o'clock, and by the time I want to go hang out with them mid to late afternoon, I feel like I've, worked a true full day.
Yeah.
And I don't feel bad about leaving the office at 4 p.m. to hang out with my kids. Obviously that doesn't happen 5 days a week, but when I can do it, that's the ideal morning.
Yeah. Quote. Do you have a favorite quote?
A couple of them. There's a Kobe Bryant quote, "You have to work hard in the dark to shine in the light." It kind of goes hand in hand with early mornings and late nights. I mean, I don't think you can find great success in our business without grinding.
Yeah.
Nothing's handed to you here. That was a big one. Trying to see if I wrote anything else down, but that would probably be.
I think that's good. I didn't ask for multiple quotes.
Always have a backup, right?
Yeah. What about your favorite restaurant, a lifelong Dallas site?
I'll give you a kind of a more casual one, and then I'll give you, I guess, more of a fancier one. I'd say Rafa's is probably one of my favorite spots on Lovers.
Solid.
Great Tex-Mex. Been going there ever since I was,
Do you live over there?
So we're in Northwest Dallas, like Royal between Midway and Marsh.
Okay.
So we're not too far
Pretty
from there.
close.
Yeah, within like 7-8 minutes. And
Yeah.
I love Rafa's. And then I would say, I love Nick and Sam's. You got to have a good steakhouse wreck in Dallas. My wife would tell me it's probably Catch Steak is hers.
Oh yeah.
So I'll go to Catch with her because she likes it. But if I'm booking the reservation, I'm more of a Nick and Sam's.
I've been to Catch in Miami, but I haven't been to the one here yet. So
the one here is huge.
We're doing our top producers dinner there next month. So
you'll enjoy it.
I'm looking forward to that.
For sure.
What else do I have? What else?
I'll give you one of them.
Yeah.
You asked about a song.
Oh yeah.
And so I think
I don't ask that enough these days.
Obviously you're into music, so I think you'll appreciate it. But this is my cold plunge song. Every time I'm in the plunge, I listen to it. It's 3 minutes and 16 seconds long. I know every word, every verse because I'm sitting there freezing, my ass off. But I would say that I Was Alive by Beartooth almost changed my life. And I listen to it every day. It's always the number one song on my Spotify Wrapped. It came out in 2023. So for 23, 24, 25, it's been the number one song on my Spotify. And the opening line is, "I'm not going to be on my deathbed knowing that I'll be buried in regret." And it's a metalcore song. It goes pretty hard, but it is, it's one of those songs that makes you realize that, hey, I want to be alive. I didn't want to just live. And that's the premise of the whole song is, I want to tell the people around me that I love them. I want to make sure that when I go that I know I lived. I was alive and, that I didn't have any regrets. And so the cold plunge started that daily listening for me. But even on the days I don't get in the plunge, I still listen to it in the truck.
Are you a metalcore guy?
Yes.
That's just an interesting turn of events here. So I didn't see that coming.
Yeah. I grew up on, punk rock, Blink-182, Sum 41. Take your pick.
I love that whole genre of pop punk like that. Blink-182 is
favorite band of all time.
I wouldn't say that, but they're way up there.
When my first daughter was born, I sang First Date every night at bedtime.
Yeah. I'm early Blink-182. So I can't remember First Date, but like Damn It and then What's My Age Again, that album. Oh, yeah. Oh my God.
Classics.
So good. His book came out last year.
Oh, really?
And you should read it. The what's his name? The bass player.
Mark Hoppus.
Yeah, Mark Hoppus autobiography.
Really?
It's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, so I've always kind of been into the punk rock, and then as I got older, I was listening to like Under Oath, Atreyu, Korn.
Yeah.
And it is funny, you're not the only one that has that reaction. You're like, really?
You can go hang with Jeremy Mercer and talk about this stuff.
Oh yeah, Jeremy's all about it, right? And he's into Pantera, which
I think of just like him as a Pantera guy.
Absolutely,
and I love Pantera.
I'll listen to Pantera, but yeah, I wouldn't probably put it in the top 3 or 4. But yeah, it's funny, like that's always just what's kind of clicked in my brain. It's always like I listened to Sirius XM Octane in my truck. I'm all about it.
There's a song called I'm Alive by Johnny Thunders, which is a rock and roll song from the 60s. And I listen to that all the time when I'm doing my Sonic Cold Plunge. And it's similar theme, but different genre, but you should check it out.
I will. I'll share mine with you.
I'll share too. We'll share those. But yeah, I love that line in that song though, that you mentioned, and the deathbed regrets. And I do think about that often at this stage of life, especially. And I feel like if, God forbid, my day is here tomorrow or something, like I'm gonna feel like 98% I'm good. Like feel like I've done a good job of listening to my intuition and pulling myself out of those tough times, learning from them, taking risks, doing everything that I really wanted to do. But I think about it, and I think that's just an important way to live. They have those little coins, like the Stoic philosopher ritual. It's like memento mori, and it's like a coin that's just basically a symbol of death. And it's like, remember, death can come at any minute. So the way you're behaving right now, like, do you want this to be your behavior if death comes for you today?
Yep.
And that's just it's a solemn reminder, but it's just a reality of this human life we have. It's precious. It's beyond our control, and we don't know. But I mean, the one thing I know is like, keep that in mind in these decisions that I'm making. Like if I'm on my deathbed, am I going to look back and regret this behavior? And I didn't used to think that way.
No,
I used to think it's not going to matter. And, or I actually used to think that there used to be behaviors that I put in the category of I will regret not going to Las Vegas and acting like a complete idiot if I don't do this. But I guess my perspective on the things that are important to me have changed, and in a positive way for my health, at least.
Right. Totally get it.
So that's interesting. Dude, much love.
Likewise.
Thanks for joining me. I'm glad we were finally able to make this happen. I know you've got a building tour.
I appreciate you having me, man. This has been a long time coming, and enjoyed the chat.
Yeah, we'll do it again, I'm sure.
We'll love that.
Thanks for trucking on, Corbin. Peace.